baby beard.
All right, I'm a delivery boy.
Who is Hermes planning on killing?
I think we should let the orphans run free.
You've redeemed funds.
Yeah, exactly.
You haven't.
He's just an old guy.
Can we talk about evil Lincoln?
Oh, of course.
Oh, this art needs to be sent. That's not the voice at all.
That's lobster-tainment.
Let's make it the
Look,
Christmas.
let me ask you this.
He was just about to agree with you.
Wow.
Shut up and take my podcast.
Daddy. So for someone that wants to take Daddy away from the public knowledge so much, you do bring it up.
It's because I hate myself.
Fair.
And that's very key to my foreplay.
You know,
Should we talk about this episode?
Self-loathing is a big theme of Shut Up and Take My Podcast, a Futurama podcast where we pit episode against episode in bloody glorious gauntlet battle for your entertainment.
Episode against episode of what?
Of bloody.
Bloody. Did he say Futurama? Am I just being
I said
stupid?
Futurama.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yay!
I know, my
I'm a
goddamn
little
intro by now. It's taken me 80 episodes.
Rusty.
That's all right.
And we're joined here by the ever-wrong Phil,
I'll take 2 sphincters and a Coke.
by the ever-sexy Chris,
Just here for Just Friends spooning.
by the overall Ellen,
I am in overalls. And you guys can find me in some out-of-focus areas. Wink.
And we're joined by the ever-shrinking Sean.
Oh.
I like that Zoidberg and Hermes have put aside their differences to cuddle.
I love it. I love this little romance that's blossoming.
Or maybe it's just like raging cuddle. It's like angry sex.
No,
but
it
it's
is just friends spooning.
Like
Just
Zoidberg
friends.
is well aware of what.
Let's
like,
not
he's-
put labels on it, you know?
Yeah.
They need to figure it out.
I'm not sure Hermes has actually agreed to it. I think maybe
Zoidberg just made that decision.
Assumed that's happening.
He didn't he had his time to kind of say no,
object.
that's not cool. But he just kind of stood there and he's like, yeah.
Who's the big
Just
spoon?
take one.
Question, who's the big spoon? Who's the little spoon?
Oh, well, Zoidberg was going for the big spoon.
Do you reckon he
I
would be
think
that?
Zoidberg would love being a little spoon.
That's what
I
I'm
think he would
thinking.
love it,
because
but he has to
craves
initiate it.
affection.
I think he would he'd take whatever he could get. let's be
I'd
honest.
be pretty happy with
Take it.
Hermes being a big spoon as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be okay with
I
that.
feel
if
like
Hermes
Zoid's
was a
big
spoon.
boys.
Yeah.
Zoidberg initiates
Ah.
it and then just subtly rolls over and hopes that Hermes
They're
then
not
gets
great
the idea.
size-wise, though. They're about the same size.
What are you, a
Yeah.
size queen?
No. No. There's lots of terminology that can apply to me, but that's not
That's
one.
not one of them?
I'm not
Okay.
even sure
Okay.
that's a terminology.
A size queen?
Yeah, it's a... What? Do you not know what a size queen is?
No.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm
Inform
lost
us,
too.
Chris.
You know what it is.
You do it.
Okay.
You do it, Daddy.
It is a... Daddy is here to teach.
Daddy Bond.
It is a particular... thanks for using my last name. It is a particular type of lady who prefers a large penis. Like,
Ah,
it is
okay.
particularly, large is better.
Yes.
Like, is
Which
better.
is not always true.
No,
Yeah, that's why it's a particular
that's
Yeah.
right.
taste.
But
Yes.
in terms of spooning, size variances can kind of help.
Yeah, in terms of overall body type. Yeah.
Yeah.
A little person being the big spoon is like a backpack.
Yeah, it's a rocket ship.
Yeah.
No, sorry. It's a... What is it? A jetpack. That's right. It's a
jetpack.
jetpack because you're just hanging off the back being like...
Maybe we should fucking talk about an episode.
Well, we learned
yeah,
a lot about cuddling when we looked at season 4, episode 17, the Spanish fry, which is a reference to what?
Spanish.
Oh, that's Spanish
fly.
Fly.
Which was what?
It's an aphrodisiac.
Yes.
Yes.
Do we know what it is?
It's a beetle
right?
or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's ground up beetle.
And I think it's been prepared wrong sometimes and people have died from
And
it.
you can get a very
know that.
serious rash.
Yes.
The Beastie Boys put it in drinks. At
Isn't one of the
parties.
Beastie Boys dead?
Yeah.
Yes.
Was it
That's
from
why.
Spanish
Oh, no,
Fly?
don't.
No, he died of cancer.
Oh, director for this episode was Peter Avancino, back from Crimes of the Hots.
Oh.
Which is
It's getting hot in here, I'll tell you what.
So which one was that episode again?
That's the
Crimes-
global warming.
Yeah, Al
right.
Gore.
So
Al
he's
Gore.
Sounds like a sexy episode. It's
He's
not.
using the same voice guy to do the infomercial thing. That's
Yes.
how he
Yeah.
deliver. That's
Yeah.
how he delivers plot.
When the sun rays beat up the...
That's right.
the pollution beats up the sun rays.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Peter Avancino, the daddy of the Futurama directing world. My little tidbit of information for you. I'm not going to describe the video. Just go on YouTube and see it. San Diego Comic-Con, Peter Avancino and Matt Groening have a draw-off where they just see who can draw some sort of character first. So Peter Avancino takes about 5 minutes to do this really kind of nice, lovely, really elaborate drawing of Bender and what's the stabby robot? Roberto. While Matt Groening just does progressively shitter drawings really quickly and just signs them off. It's lovely. It's beautiful.
but which one's worth more?
Well, then Matt Groening goes over to Peter Avancino's drawing and signs his name under it anyway.
Because they're his
Good on
characters,
him.
right?
Yeah, well, that's right.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well,
He gets
it's
to
also
do
a
that.
nice ending to that story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt Groening taking credit for other people's work. Writer is Ron Wiener.
Yeah.
Cue laugh. Every time.
Very
Every time.
appropriate
Yeah,
for this
super appropriate.
episode.
Good name.
He's like, can I do this one? Can I do this one?
I have ideas.
Yeah. I got an idea for an episode.
One of your favorite episodes, Phil. He's back from Less Than Hero.
Yes. Yes. Not as silly as this.
No.
This episode is not as silly.
Just
The
lots of
premise
willies.
is
Sort of
very
similar.
Pretty silly, yeah.
But it's sort of
delivered-
similar in like the trio have a kind of wacky adventure.
I guess.
That's kind of
Like-
most
like-
of the episode.
No, but like the
Yeah.
group have a situation enforced upon them. They're not questing for any like a circumstance happens to them. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, in
Less Than
Less
Hero.
Than Hero, they kind of take it on a bit more.
Oh, that's
like,
true.
oh yeah,
That's
we're
true.
gonna
That's
we're now
true.
superheroes.
Yeah.
We're gonna go
That's true.
and
They're more,
stop the zookeeper.
yeah, they're more on the back foot in this episode.
That's right.
Just
Yeah.
desperately trying not to have their dicks harvested. Or
Aren't
dick.
we all?
This is Wiener's swan song. It's the last time he'll whip out a Wiener.
Oh.
Wiener is now a writer for Silicon Valley.
I have not seen.
I
any
have
of
not, but it's 5 seasons in and it's meant to be awesome.
So
okay.
that's the show about tech geniuses.
Yeah, so
there's
Silicon
a lot of
Valley.
wieners in
Mike
that
Judge,
field.
who's the creator of King of the Hill, among other
Yeah.
things, is the creator of Silicon Valley. It has TJ Miller.
So is it
as
it's
well.
comedy then?
I feel like he was in it. Or
It's kind of
something.
drama.
TJ Miller was in
TJ
for
Miller?
4 seasons, then
Comedy
left because
drama.
he's a bit of a dickhead. But
Yeah.
it's got my favorite comedian, Kumail Nanjiani, who's from The Big Sick.
Yes.
Oh, great film. Great
Yes.
film. Yeah, yeah.
Great film. So go see Wiener write for Silicon Valley, everyone.
Tell us about it.
Yeah.
Air date, July 13th, 2003.
Yes.
I just wanted to leave a pause where there's nothing you can
Yeah.
say to it. And just
right.
Great.
There's literally nothing to discuss.
No.
So,
What
I
were you
remember
guys?
that
What were
day.
you guys doing July 13th, 2003?
Well, it was my birthday the next day.
Really?
So I was probably
birthday.
getting ready
Happy
for that.
birthday, dude.
Aw.
Thanks.
Happy birthday to
To-
Posh Little
Shit, I'm
Phil.
passing out personal information about
You
myself.
really? Do you want me to edit this?
We're all doing it.
Just beep.
Happy
Yeah,
birthday
yeah.
to 16-year-old Phil.
Well, they'll be able to work it out.
I
mate.
got
Even
that
if I
very
beat
wrong.
out
Wait.
the exact date, they'll
Wait.
be like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, it'll be around that."
I was
time.
12, so you were 15 or 16.
I can't
Yeah,
do
okay.
math.
There you go.
I was
There you go.
12 as well.
Yeah,
That's
No, I was 13.
yeah, because Phil's old.
Yes.
I cannot do math.
So,
but I'm
relatively.
Elderly statesman Phil, can you please run down the plot of this episode?
Oh yeah. This episode's all about Fry's dick.
nice.
This is pretty much it. They go hiking. All the Planet Express crew go hiking in the Pacific Northwest, where they're hoping to see a bit of Bigfoot. And instead of Bigfoot, Fry gets abducted and his nose stolen, which is apparently part of a big epidemic of nose stealings because aliens think that human horn has an aphrodisiac effect. When he goes to get his nose back from Lrrr, who they track his nose down to, Bender inadvertently,
Oh, he
Question
goddamn
mark?
knew.
in inverted commas,
Yeah.
tells Lrrr about the lower horn, which prompts Lrrr to lust after his lower horn so that he can repair his terrible relationship with
Really
his wife.
toxic relationship.
It's
Yes,
so
super
sad
toxic.
to watch.
in a last-ditch effort to stave off the harvesting of his lower horn, they arrange a romantic dinner back in the woods that we started in, which goes terribly until Bigfoot shows up and reminds Lrr's wife that Lrrr can be a bit sensitive, and then Fry runs away. The end.
And then we see Bigfoot.
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
we see
and we see
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot.
It's the end. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Ladies and gentlemen, what do we think of Spanish Fry?
This episode traumatized me as a young person.
Really?
Yes, it did.
Tell me more. Tell me more.
What did you do to your nose?
We're
What did I
learning
do to
all
my-
sorts
No,
of
no.
things today.
So when I was a young man, I think I was been like 15 or 16. There was a porno store down the road from where I lived, and I saw this episode and was like,
In the porno store?
No, so yeah, in the I went
Okay,
into
he's
the
setting
porno store.
things up, right? When you tell an anecdote, sometimes you did set
A man
Oh,
invited me
friend.
in. No, so I saw this episode when I was around 15 or 16.
Yeah.
And I was like, when I get to 18, I would like to like buy stuff from porn stores and
Yeah.
like, you know, be an adult. But I saw this episode and went, oh no, the minute I walk into any adult store ever, there
I'm
will
gonna
be
get filmed.
videotapes
Yeah.
and I will be blackmailed. And that's my career, because for those who have been long-time listeners, I was thinking about becoming a priest for
Yeah.
a career.
I've
so
seen your
funny.
youth ID.
Yeah, well,
As
that's
long
right.
as you don't like, ejaculate, it's fine.
Well,
What? What do you
When?
think happens in adult stores?
Look, you can edge.
What do you?
You can like get yourself to the edge, but then
It's not a
God
sin.
is still fine with it until you ejaculate.
Also, I like
That
this
is bad.
idea that you think that someone hasn't ejaculated in an adult store. Of
No,
course they have.
absolutely. I know. No, what do you?
He's not talking about inside the store.
I am.
Yeah. No, I was just worried about getting videotaped and blackmailed.
Well,
for ages.
Like, I'm sure it doesn't happen all the time, but
I mean, you are
Might
going to be
happen a bit.
videotaped, but I don't think you'll be blackmailed.
Yeah,
that's right.
No one gives a shit.
yeah, that's right.
I'm gonna.
Then I got over
I'm
myself.
gonna blackmail this youth pastor.
That's
for
right.
Everything he
That's
owns.
right. That's right. That's right.
Which would be nothing.
Nothing at all.
Exactly.
Some rosary beads. I don't know.
So Phil and Ellen, I'm assuming you weren't as traumatized.
Nah, I was
no.
fucking engaged.
I don't remember watching this episode before this now.
Truly.
Truly. I'm not even sure I have seen it before now. Yeah, I think it's quite a fun look at the silliness of aphrodisiac. I had fun with this episode.
Yeah,
I did.
If anything, it made me more sexually adventurous as a young person watching. I don't know why I did my old person.
Back in the old
day
days.
when I watched this. No, I thought it's fun. It's silly.
This is
and
their
it's,
dirtiest episode.
Oh, yeah, it's delightfully transgressive, isn't it? Yeah.
Like,
movies would be dirtier.
up to
I
now.
haven't
Sure,
seen the
for sure,
movies.
for sure.
Yeah, it's
Up to
it's
now.
definitely their sexiest episode.
To
I
date.
say involving sex. It's
Yeah, it's
the
not
episode.
that sex.
Episode.
It's not
that-
arousing.
Sexually content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sexually content?
Sexually contented.
Yeah. Sexually contented.
Like it got to a point where they had
I'm
to
sexually
remove
contented.
certain things from the episode because they thought they were already going too far. Like
Yeah.
originally when Fry goes to look and check in Bender's chest plate to see if he's got his nose or not, originally he was going to be looking at his shiny metal ass. But they thought
But there's nothing
Fry
there.
putting
We know
his
there's
face near
like
Bender's ass was maybe a bit too much sex.
Given everything else that happens
Yeah,
in this
that-
episode,
no,
That
it's a
would be-
weird line to not cross.
only if they animated Bender's ass to be like a fleshlight. Then it would be weird.
I mean,
Otherwise,
I think-
I'm sure it's very
I
PG.
think that's just a bit of like early 2000s gay panic right there. It's like, oh no, we can talk about sex all the time,
I
but as long
do-
as a man doesn't like
Look at another
get
man's
another
ass.
man's ass.
But we did have, our little Hermes Zoidberg.
Oh,
I
yeah,
bet
that's
there's fan
true.
fiction about that.
Oh,
You
bet?
know that.
oh,
was a bet.
100%.
I have
and
a
I
lot-
want to read it.
I really enjoy the stuff that kind of comes before it turns really sexual. Like the stuff with Fry missing his nose is kind of delightful and a bit more innocent than some of the rest
With
of the
the Groucho
episode.
mask.
The Groucho mask and the fact that it doesn't leave a hole behind. He just has
It's just a blank.
face.
Yeah.
And we finally, I think this is the second time Leela's used her wrista jacker meter or whatever the hell it's called.
Jack off meter. Yeah.
I'm not making this up. It's wrista something meter.
The jack-off meter in this episode.
I will
Yeah.
get
That's right. Through
Steve,
the roof.
She uses it to surgery his
I-
nose back on.
It's
Yes.
her emergency face laser.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, but
Every lady has one. I love how she's like, sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Singes his face. But it makes sense. Like, women do I say dumb shit, crazy shit to their face all the time. And
I
it just
thought you were
going to
dial it back from being like a little bit sexist, and then you went further.
No, I'm not saying it's sexist.
Women are crazy.
No, I'm saying, like,
Whoa,
if
women
I,
be cray cray.
if I said to you, I put hot wax on and around my eyeballs sometimes.
So
Not
glad you
eyeballs,
said. So glad you
eyelids.
said eyeballs.
Yeah.
Yes, I was waiting.
Yeah. And then I put paper on that and I rip it off.
Yeah.
Objectively, that's crazy.
yeah, objectively, yes, sure.
But it's normal to me.
Wristlow jackometer.
Do you know what I mean? So that's the thing I'm talking about. Women, we're kind of desensitized to, like, insane shit that we do in it.
Certainly around the face. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Eyeballs.
That's true.
and vagina, that's fine.
Well, we do that. Guys can do the same.
If
there.
if a man ever uses a epilator on your pubes, write into me and tell me how
they
you went.
absolutely do.
Send me a video.
Certainly in industry,
Send me the video,
adult
please.
industry.
I guess the toxic relationship is a bit poorly written.
Lrrr
I think it's a bit over the top.
Yeah,
But
but
it's stereotype.
Have
It's
you
a
ever
stereotype.
been around any kind of like shitty older heterosexual couple? It's pretty much it. Like
Yeah,
I
I
know
guess, yeah.
I know someone and they're just like, oh, and just constantly like making cracks about each other's weight and like
The old ball and chain.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
like that's not normal, guys.
Well, it's not
I know
healthy.
it's normalized for you, but it
Also,
shouldn't
there's
be.
a lot of deleted scenes where there were more barbs thrown at each
Right,
other.
okay.
It's just more
There's enough.
toxic.
There's definitely enough.
Yeah.
It makes sense that I do like the episode portrays it as definitely toxic though.
Yes,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
they are not
Absolutely.
working and everyone is like
Leela's like, whoa!
yeah, everyone is like visually or reacting in a kind of like yikes kind of way.
I get a bit confused in that the thing that Lrrr's wife. Does she have a name? Lrrr's
Nda,
wife.
nda.
Nunda.
It's
Nda.
ND.
Yeah, it's harder.
Nunda.
Nda. It's hard because if he says it fast, which he does in this episode, it's
Yeah.
basically unintelligible.
Yes.
Yes.
They ask her what she liked about him originally, and it's to do with him being sensitive.
Right.
And
which
I kind
is
of my thing I thought was the Omicron Perseo-Atians
hated sweetness.
hated like kind of nice things, and it would for me it would be more consistent if she was like, oh, he's too sensitive now.
Yeah.
He used to like crush birds in the woods or whatever, just crush fuzzy animals,
Well,
and now
even-
he's gone soft.
Even if they steered into like his bloodlust is gone, he just sits on the couch watching
Yeah.
reruns
Yeah,
all the time.
she just wants him to do stuff, be active.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, it's kind of like it's poorly written because women's biggest criticism of men is like undefined. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's clearly men writing about a man.
yeah.
You know, so
Oh,
it's
she
like
doesn't like me eating the food I want to eat.
that's
And,
right.
yeah.
You know,
If
like
you're drowning stuff in ketchup, no, I agree with that.
Salt and ketchup,
Butter.
lots of melted butter,
lots of
Yum.
muscle
Yeah.
butter.
Okay,
Sounds great
no,
to me.
lots of melted butter is great.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
drowning your food in ketchup is like big red flag right there. Like
There was an
literally a
earlier
red
draft of the script where the way they repair their relationship is actually they decide to attack Earth, the Omicronians, and that's what brings
Aw.
Lrrr and like
That's
war.
sweet.
War brings them
War.
together
That's
again.
sweet. I like that.
That would be more in character, definitely.
Yeah.
yeah.
Instead, Bigfoot just were like, hey, do you remember this from the beginning of the episode? I do like that it gets kind of ditched quite early, the
Yes.
Bigfoot thing.
Yeah.
You think the
And
whole
it comes
episode's
back
going to
around.
be really Bigfoot based, and then it's like, nah, it's not. It really
Just,
isn't.
yeah. I don't like that it's very correct when they say the people who believe in Bigfoot generally are like
Poor.
lower socioeconomic
They're poor. They're
status.
They're poor.
literally-
Yes.
But I think it's a bit colonial to say because like most indigenous tribes kind of in that area of America,
yeah.
they all have a Bigfoot thing.
Do
And
they?
it's like only, and like even if they're not related, in their language there's always this kind of character which kind of implies that something, like whether or not it's just a big kind of ape, like
Yeah.
yeah, and it just reminds me of all the times when stupid white people have been like, "Oh, this is just their simple way of figuring out how the world works." But it's like, no, we were right.
Yeah.
Mosquitoes carry malaria. We were saying that
Yeah.
all along.
yeah.
Oh,
I do really like the informational video about
I do,
Bigfoot.
yeah.
It's really delightful. We must maybe protect his
The
habitat.
constant
Yeah.
hedging of the bed.
And
if he doesn't, it's not a problem.
yeah, and everyone just squinting
Yeah.
in the little
That ends
infomercial,
kind of
like
thing
really
is great.
confused.
I quite liked at the end of it, it says most rights reserved.
Yeah.
Yes. At the end of the...
Also, it's a 400-year-old video.
Yeah.
because like 2600 is the
That
Roman
would explain the
numerals.
film grade.
Yeah.
What do you think, Sean?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm still worried. I'm still trying to figure out how the wang cutter works. Like you
Don't
look
think
at
about
it,
it
so
too much.
it's got the blade in the middle,
Yes.
and then it's got the two pincers on the side.
Yes.
but then it's got a grabby thing that comes vertically over. So
With little needles.
Yes.
yeah,
So they hold it in place. The
but
needles hold
from
it in
what
place.
direction?
What do you
So,
mean?
like, where does it hold it from the side, or is it holding it from the
So,
side and splitting it?
No. So you put the wang between the two
Oh, in
things.
between those
Circles.
holes.
Yeah.
Thing.
between the holes.
Uh-huh.
So the wang goes in there. The pincer things hold it in place, and then the grabby, cuttery things cut it.
And then
So
the
it's a
saw
solid
blades
thing.
just to make sure.
The saw blade's like a little just in case.
That's just for looks.
Just in case.
That's right. Well, the grabby things are more like to bring it to harvest it. harvest, I think, is the important.
Don't pincer with your hands. That's
Doing like a weird Zoidberg kind of thing.
because my other
Imagine-
alternative was like
yeah.
it grabbed it, like, you know, if you're facing the penis, if you're looking
Yes.
that penis dead on,
Yeah.
and you just grab it,
Tends
and the blade just goes through the middle,
No.
and then it
That's
just
splitting
peels like a banana,
hot dog.
like,
like a hot dog.
that's splitting the wang. You don't
Yeah.
want to do
It's-
You don't want to split the wang.
It is kind of a nice rule of three, isn't it? That device, because
Yes.
they first get out, it's a buzzsaw. You're like, oh no,
Yeah.
and then it has
The
the,
pincers.
Yeah, it does. It does rule of
pincers,
three,
and you're
doesn't
like, oh no.
And then the third prong.
and then it has the prongs. You're like, oh, okay. And I think all of us went, oh no.
No, but
Yeah.
I think it has a sound effect as well as it comes out. There's kind of a sprong.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Like,
Boing.
it doesn't matter if the penis doesn't come off in one nice. Like,
Does it?
One,
Not to you.
No, well, no, I mean not to them
'Cause they
They're
grade-
gonna
they
grind
grade
it
it
up
up
anyway.
anyway.
Yeah,
so
that's
what
true.
does it matter if it comes off in like one fell
Multiple
swoop, all
uses.
intact? Yeah. Like what?
Well, like you don't want to use it all in one hit.
Yeah.
No, but they're grinding it up.
And then you can put it.
Don't
Oh,
put it
but
in
you
a
want
bag.
it freshly ground.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm on
Yeah,
board.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Come on, Alan.
Come on. They completely
I don't
ignore in
need
this
a
episode.
sexual aid. Thank you very much.
They completely ignore that like flesh has, you know, blood vessels and blood and things attached.
When have they ever?
Yeah, I know,
acknowledged
right?
that?
But
This is
the
an
nose
episode
can
where a
just be
nose comes off and it's just a flat plane. Yes.
and they can just be ground up and then reattached with no kind of.
It does remind me of a story where that pretty much happened, though. Like, I don't know if you've ever read any of Roald Dahl's autobiographies.
Solo and
Boy?
Boy.
No,
Boy,
But
yeah,
I
Boy.
don't know if this was in one or it's an excerpt, but he was in like a car accident because that was back in the day when it's like, when you think you're ready to drive, go for it. And his like sister crashed the car and he went straight through the windshield, which was glass back then, and his nose came off and it was like by a thread, and his mother just kind of like had a handkerchief, clapped it back on and held it there until like she could get him to a hospital, and then they sewed it back on.
His ear?
His nose.
His
nose.
nose.
Wow.
Wow, listening comprehension from this part of the table.
jeez,
sorry, I got
it's
distracted-
only related to
I got
the
distracted
episode.
by your ear headphones that you've got.
That's fair. I
Fair
have very cool ear headphones.
I enjoy that the Planet Express crew go on business camping trips together.
It's cute.
Like,
Yeah,
it's-
they just get right in there. They don't explain or anything.
No.
But it's,
It's
just kind of
wholesome.
lovely that
Yeah.
all of them do it together
Yeah.
as a group and decide not to invite Scruffy along.
Yes,
He's gonna
I think they
clean.
forgot about it.
I feel like he would maybe bow out.
Scruffy's having a
Bow
party.
out.
No, Scruffy would go.
Scruffy got the place to
Scruffy would go.
himself.
I feel like he likes.
Pitch his
He likes
tent,
to.
get his porno, pitch his tent.
I feel like he likes to hike alone. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scruffy's
We should do
a-
business trips.
Scruffy's in his underwear
Can we?
in the Planet Express crew.
While
Yeah.
we're on
Ship.
Scruffy's underwear, can we talk fashion?
Yeah.
I love
course.
their
love every
hiking
single one of them.
outfits.
They all look the best.
Yeah,
They look great.
and I love the kind of. Actually, I even love Hermes with his like dad bod out and like the
Yeah.
shirt around his waist.
Hey,
it's
that is
cute.
that is an Olympic body.
Yeah,
It's true.
He's an Olympic
I am not
athlete.
denying that.
An Olympic dad bod.
Dad
Yeah,
bod.
Some
Olympic. It
some
gives me
Olympians have dad
hope.
bods.
Yeah. And as a dad myself now,
Daddy.
clearly. Yeah. I know dad bods when I see them.
I like the little flannelette that the girls are wearing.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
pretty
It's adorable.
Cool. Yeah, it's great.
And the-
Using
and the,
the bandanas, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Farnsworth has the hat with the
And his
at the back.
ATST.
yes, and his robo legs.
Yeah, and his rubber leg.
And he's sitting there like really demurely with his crossed legs.
yeah, he's
really
riding
nice.
side saddle.
Fry's probably the only one who doesn't look
Oh, really?
particularly hiking.
All
No,
he's
not
got is a
big-
bandana.
Yeah.
He's
That's all he
pretty
has.
cash anyway.
Yeah.
He brings
Well,
he
yeah.
brings his pajama onesie.
It's
Yes,
true. Well, that's
with
true.
like
Feeties?
weirdly
With feeties.
long feeties.
Feeties,
yeah.
It's like
It's charming.
pointed feeties.
He looks like Thing 1 and Thing 2.
When were
Even-
feeties a
Except
thing?
beige.
When were feeties like a thing? Like when were they in
between the
fashion?
ages of 0 and
Cool,
2.
good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now, when you're an adult and you want to eat ice cream, like out of the tub,
I've seen people in the supermarket with their Pokemon onesie on. So
a onesie is slightly different than
Okay.
a feedie. You know,
right,
Is it?
is it?
yeah, because you can have a onesie
Like
that
socially?
like cuts.
Yeah.
It's roughly. I don't. If I see someone in feedies, I'm like, oh, it's like a pajama party day.
Why have I written the wine? Oh, that's what
Box
the
wine.
box
no.
wine.
It's what bothered me about the porno is the
Oh, the wine gets spilled.
the wine just goes everywhere. And the glass smashes on the floor.
Why
and
does
just
that bother
wine,
you?
Just because it would go on the carpet. And
You
it would
are
just
really
stain.
sensitive. Your porn
and-
must be so vanilla.
Oh, dude, I like my carpets clean in my porn.
They lay down a towel.
So they put down their glasses. Oh, thank
Yeah.
God.
Sean
On a
has a very,
coaster?
Under a
On a
coaster.
coaster?
On a coaster.
Sean has a very like minimalist style of porn watching. Like,
I've
it's
got
all
very
like straight
OCD.
edges, white and
Yeah.
black, high contrast.
I thought this
Mine's like
might
if Wes Anderson directed
Yeah.
pornos.
Yeah.
that'd be
Yeah.
adorable.
I know.
That'd be great. I would
I'm
watch
into
that.
it.
With
Wow.
I was thinking with Willem Dafoe.
It gets louder. It gets
Oh,
louder and
no.
more frequent. Wow.
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 Wow. But then it gets quite again.
No, then it's ow. Ow.
Oh, sorry.
Kapow.
A little quiet and then.
Kapow.
Nice. Yeah.
Even Bender has hiking gear, so he
Yes.
has his baseball cap and a little
Neckerchief.
Oh.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And Bender functions?
So he's a hammock, which is
Just
more kind of a
go-go
reuse of
gadget
his,
legs.
yeah,
No. Or
what
of
is
his
already there,
expendable
yeah.
limbs, and of course his head is a insect zapper.
Yeah.
Yes.
Brilliant.
And he
Yeah.
makes it personal.
Yeah, he
really
does.
goes
I
after those
will
gnats.
say I do the same thing. I went camping once and someone left the fucking tent flap open and then millions of mozzies inside my tent and like zipped up. And I'm not going to go to sleep while there's alive
No.
mosquitoes in my tent. And
No,
I was
you
like
can't.
hunting them down individually. I was like rage mode right there.
Are you to the point where you say, hey, you're not going home to your children tonight?
I did. Well, it was mainly like, fuck you, motherfucker, and like smush them with my thumb or like grab them out of the air and just like look at them for a second and then squish. And I'm a vegetarian.
I think maybe Bender is overestimating the familial structure of gnats. Like, I don't think they go home to their kids in their little gnat house.
With
Mainly
their
'cause
little
aren't their
briefcase.
Yeah, nice.
Well, because if they go home at the end of the day, aren't their kids now adults?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're moving out. Oh,
Oh yeah, that's
They're on their
that's-
deathbed.
It's very dramatic time to be a gnat.
Scary Door.
Were we just throwing out random
Not
parts
a-
of the episode?
Not a
Well,
Yeah.
best
I mean,
scary door.
No,
I don't think.
Scary. This one was originally going to be used in Icecatraz, so the Penguin episode.
Oh yeah.
But they didn't have enough time, so
It
they
doesn't-
used it for later.
It kind of fits in, I guess.
Does
You've
it?
got
It's a Bigfoot
You've got
thing.
Bigfoot, so you're already on kind of like crackpot. Like, what if paranormal mysteries?
I don't think the like final line delivery is great. Like I
It
know,
turns
was
out it
man.
was man.
I know that it's supposed to be deliberately
Yeah.
undercut, but it just
Yeah.
it doesn't strike the right.
The timing's wrong. I think is the main
Yeah.
issue.
They
Probably
had
because
to
it's
they had
rushed
to
into the
cut
credits.
the that Scary Door down much more.
Yeah, of course.
I can see why.
And it doesn't. Well, I mean, like to me, the thing is, it doesn't add anything. Like because it's like tacked
No.
in, it like it kind of subtracts a bit.
Yeah. What's it?
Yeah, it's a little odd. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Scary Door.
I didn't
Yeah.
feel it subtracted, but I was more like, oh, yeah, okay, there. It's here.
The intro's fun.
Yeah.
What was the intro?
The beatboxing.
Thank you. Yes.
yeah, they just
took
do
it from
that
us.
at random. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things they just throw into this episode.
It's like a
Our beatbox is
camping.
better.
I do love the kind of black marketplace they go.
Yeah.
I got very few of those references.
I just like the alien designs. Like everything happening in the
Yeah.
background is really
Moose
gleeful
was
and
back.
fun.
Yeah, or camel.
The
Camel.
camel.
Sorry.
Camels,
Yeah.
in
Camel
the
cigarette,
background.
camel.
Yeah. They're
Smoking a
roasting a
cigarette.
car.
Yeah, I noticed
Yeah.
that.
3D car, which
Yeah,
looked
ooh.
beautiful.
What? Is that why it was like I'll have a number 3 combo? I don't know.
No, the
I was like,
animation.
As in
okay.
the 3D animation. The car was actually 3D animated.
Oh, right.
So-
And that opening shot with them landing in the woods is a nice bit of 3D animation.
Yeah.
as well.
Oh, I
It's really
love
good.
Fry running through the trees after he's been abducted.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, how it's
I
kind of
love
that-
horror movies, so
that
that
kind of-
shit
yeah.
for me
Yeah.
was beautiful.
Very 80s style.
Yes. Very kind of like, oh, something's gone awry in the
That's right.
woods.
Oh, the abduction tube is the Windows.
The Windows
screensaver
screensaver.
I wanted
tube.
to mention that, not for. I really
Well, I mentioned it first, Ellen.
Suck it.
Oh, well, all right, that's one for you. No, I wanted
Yes,
to mention
one.
I really loved
I'll mark it.
the noise that the tubes made as they were kind of assembling. It was weird. If anyone's played the game Oxenfree,
No.
okay,
I have it, but I haven't played it.
it's
no,
kind
yeah.
of like you tap into another dimension. They're kind of other dimensional ghosts, kind of, which you tune into with a radio. So it had this nice kind of like digital yet otherworldly sound, and it sounded very familiar. Like, yeah,
Nice,
I just
nice.
nice little bit of sound.
Yeah.
Very quickly, my favorite line is almost throwaway. It's just Zoidberg's interpretation of saying why. when Fry says that he really relates to Bigfoot, and Zoidberg just goes, "Why?"
Why? Yeah.
Genuine.
That's quite,
Yeah,
quite
it's
good.
nice. Yeah.
Explain more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ass clumps of Bigfoot at the end. You know, when the poacher... No, it's not the poacher. The ranger.
Ranger
the
Park
park ranger.
I get it.
Yeah. When he takes like the clumps of hair around Bigfoot's butt. I just wanted to... This was a news story where they were like, my dog's ass is suddenly shaved now. I didn't do it. No one in my house did it. Someone broke in and shaved the fur around my dog's ass. So people at home,
So that's what your brain goes to when you saw that
hold your
clip of
pets
animation.
tightly.
And don't.
Little insight into.
Don't ever let go.
Ellen's psyche.
I like. So the professor says something like, "What in Sega Genesis?"
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
nice-
I think I wrote it down actually.
It's a nice little
it's a good
line.
Yeah.
I quite liked the Bender, and maybe Zoidberg will go on the adventure.
Yeah.
Kind of
Oh,
cool
yeah.
action.
If he feels
if
like
he feels like it.
That's so out of character for him. You think he'd be like, "Yes, I've been
Yeah.
involved."
No, he's tired.
Yeah, that's right.
It's been a long day.
What in
for
Sega
Zoidberg.
Genesis happened to you?
Yeah, what in Sega Genesis happened?
Maybe he
It's
wants
great.
to hang back with Hermes.
Have that party.
I quite
Oh,
liked the Neptunians having 4 arms for sex.
Yeah,
I
because
think
they
that's
can sort
cool.
of still hold their
Yeah.
line while
Oh,
hugging.
yeah, that's
I think
beautiful.
I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I think
porno
more
looks-
porn should have 4
The
armed
porno
people.
looks very high budget as
Does.
well, and very, you know what, like very fancy.
Well, there's a close up, so it goes
Yes.
from like
Oh,
you know
well
like
produced.
yeah,
it's
and
very
like
well
the
produced.
bed is like clearly. I mean, you can't tell silk. Like you can't tell what kind
No.
of fiber quality it is.
No, that's right.
It's
but
got to
it,
be
like,
ruined
Well,
by all that
it's
wine
some
on
of
the
us
floor
can't.
in the moment. So.
Some of us
It's
can't.
got nice coloring and
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
and like I really like the porn that the plot is that they're actually in love. Like usually porn is like, I ordered a sausage pizza.
I don't
Hi.
have any money. Why'd you order a fucking pizza then?
Yeah, nice, good Vine reference there.
Hey.
Yeah, but it's like no, it's this forbidden love
Yeah.
subplot. I'm like, oh, okay, this is it.
No. It's like a Spanish telenovela.
Yeah, but
but it goes porn.
It is.
There's the Hermes joke about doing an hour's worth of business in the woods.
Yes!
And he's actually
I
the
really-
toilet roll is actually
Ticker
ticker tape, and he does some business.
I
it's
loved
very
that
nice.
gag.
I liked
Yeah.
the subtle detail that Fry's tent is manual, where everyone else's is
Yeah.
like
Digital.
automatical.
I
and,
also
like,
love
Automatical.
automatical.
We're not gonna
Ah,
let you get away with that
dramatic. I love that Fry runs out to meet Bigfoot, but he wants to
Brush his
make a
teeth?
good impression, so he's brushing his teeth.
I figured it
really
was just
cute.
like because he's getting up,
Oh,
like it's automatic, like
No,
he's getting
I
up.
thought
Sorry,
he-
automatical.
I thought he did.
No,
Automatical.
it's Fry. It's he would
Fry,
never. He'd never.
dramatic.
He never brushes his teeth.
Oh, okay.
So it's clearly
Oh.
a good impression.
It's an
thing.
effort.
Yeah.
It's an effort.
It's an effort thing. Fry's a slob. We all know this.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it's Fry missed the boat on depressed memes. I think if Fry was like a millennial now with his Groucho Marx like fake nose being like my life sucks and everyone laughing, it's like yeah, it's
Oh, I can imagine
That's
like
about
the
right.
Fry running through the woods as like one of those like Instagram like vignettes sort of things where it's like sad memes. Sort of.
Oh,
Have
yeah.
you seen those? Where it's just a series of like hyper sad things like
Yeah.
cut together really really fast.
and it's funny because the world is ending around us.
I know.
Right,
We're
guys?
all dying. We're all dying.
I have to
slowly.
mention they use the word bunk because I
Yes.
love that word.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. And one more thing which I can't remember. So never mind. Done.
I love the.
Can I? Oh, do you want to go?
You know what? You go.
Thanks. I always think his name's Gus. Is it Gus?
Sal?
Sal.
Sal.
Why do I always think he's called Gus?
I don't know. It's a
It's
very.
not a
bad
very like
person.
Italian
You
name.
hated
Sal.
Gus.
So the joke with Sal is that he always pluralizes everything
Yeah.
by putting an S on
Use.
it. But he says big feet.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
Also,
I
it's
like
the
it.
first time we've seen him where he hasn't been working.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
His first recreational activity.
Really?
He's always in a
Okay.
job.
He's always got a different
He
job.
also
Yeah.
looks
Job.
very pasty. Like he could probably use a nice kind of
Maybe
outdoor
he's
hike.
sick. Maybe
Even
his
the
bucket
old
list
lady.
before he dies.
The old ladies.
I like that she thinks the
Monster truck.
monster truck. Yeah,
It's a big one.
and I like the ranger's response. Is like,
No,
it's a
but
great.
good-
Thanks for the great question.
Yeah.
It's not a question at all. And she just leaves. She's
It's
like,
like-
well, fuck this.
Yeah, I did a children's show once, and it's like, any questions at the end? And kids are just like, I love apples. And it's like,
Great.
Thanks for the great question.
Good question.
Speaking of liking things,
Kids
we
are
have to decide which
Yeah.
episode we liked more. So we are pitting the Spanish Fry against the Sting.
Oh, Sting's still winning. Great.
Oh, I thought you were just
Oh,
like,
well, hold
jumping
on
in.
here. Phil.
Boyo, Bucko,
Yeah, hold on.
Why?
What do you mean? Hold
Sexy
on.
Chris has something to say.
No,
Drop some knowledge,
No,
Chris.
I'm not at all.
It's getting
Okay.
very
This
good.
is a better.
Broy
This is
in
not
here.
a better episode.
No, not at all. No way. No way is this a better episode.
No way.
It's got some fun stuff in it, but
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
the
it's good.
Sting.
Yeah.
No.
Sting is so good.
But this
Yeah.
has a penis.
Yeah, lots of it.
So does the
it
Sting.
talks about a penis a
Wink.
lot.
I have to say
Yeah.
wink.
Someone gets
Wink.
penetrated.
Someone does
the
get
Sting.
penetrated.
Yeah, the
More
Sting.
penetration in
Yeah.
the Sting.
Two
than
people
the
Yeah.
episode.
3 people, because Bender gets
Yeah,
penetrated.
yeah,
as well.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
No one gets penetrated. Oh.
No.
Not in the episode.
No. Off screen,
Yeah.
plenty.
Yeah.
And you don't know what happens between.
Also, yeah,
Hermes
you don't
and
know what
Sophie.
kind of what their
Sex.
genitalia is like.
No. Also, something happens that requires a 500 meter radius. So it's just an
Yeah.
explosion.
I mean, the
of
same
euphoric.
though, right?
Yeah,
Bliss.
if you're not,
Am I right,
if you don't
fellas?
need, if you don't need that distance, you're not doing it right.
Right.
Exactly.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Or
lost
you
then.
have people closer, but ear protection.
Yeah, it might just be soundproof.
It's also
thing.
eye protection.
It might just be like a.
Or sunglasses.
I thought it
infrared,
was
like,
some kind of a splashback thing that was
Yeah.
going to happen.
Yeah. Raincoats are
And
required.
that's why the Sting
No.
wins.
Yeah. I mean,
For
the
that
Sting.
exact reason.
The Sting is such a wonderfully visual episode.
Yeah,
and
that's
great,
true.
but like great storytelling as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. It's got
Yeah.
everything.
So much, so
It
much
has-
heart, but it actually like it does put you through a little emotional roller coaster,
Oh,
and
yeah.
like you're following it, and it's it's fucking great.
Was there anything that didn't work
In
this episode?
this episode?
Stop making fat jokes. Hermes
Yeah,
is beautiful.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
I think it's a little. It's the plot's not very tight. It's a little rambly, and I think it lacks a good sci-fi premise. The premise is like aphrodisiacs, which is not.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm
particularly
with you.
kind of sci-fi hook.
Would you have preferred if they'd steered into the abduction
Probing?
more?
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah,
That would have been cool. Yeah, like
Yeah.
a more of a encounters of a third kind.
Well, that's
sort of
referenced
plot.
heavily.
Yes,
Yeah.
very much
Yeah.
so.
But like maybe
I do
had
like
they
the
steered
UFO is
into it.
really mundane. It's like, oh, it's just a UFO.
Yeah, I like that.
Has a
Parking is
license
over there.
plate.
You can't park here.
I don't know. It kind of
Probe
reminds
one.
me, like, it's not mundane, but it's in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy when it's like an immortal being who he's the one that people see in UFO sightings, but his job is just because he's immortal, he hates everyone, and he's made it his job to insult every single person
In existence,
Yeah, so
yeah.
like you see this UFO and you're like, oh my god, and this like green being gets out and he's like, hey, is your name this? Yeah.
Suck.
Fuck you, and then flies away. I love it.
That's the abductions we want.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, the only thing I think is gonna like challenge this is the next
Next
episode.
week. Next
the
week.
Devil's,
Whoa.
the Devil's Hands are idle playthings.
Yeah.
Such a good episode.
So
Yes.
good.
might be
So
good,
might
so-
be toit.
Ladies and gentlemen, next week is Devil. I don't know. Don't look at me like that. The Devil's
we
Hands.
all
of-
looked to you.
Are idle.
What
Yeah.
are you doing?
He had a stroke. He had
Yeah,
a stroke.
really.
What's wrong?
Oh.
The Devil's Hands are idle playthings is next week, which is the final episode of Futurama's season 4. The last time for the Sting to be toppled. You like it?
What?
Do you want to do an impression of someone?
I would like to. I was just you set it up with saying the Devil's Hands, so I thought I'd jump on board.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And grab that. I'm flexible. I'm flexible.
You're Flexo.
I'm flexo.
The
Flexo
little
is,
thing
He's-
called
Bender is
fashion.
still flexo, by the way. I stick by that. Now, as far as impressions go, we have 2 options here that have not been done before. Under is one, and the other is creepy porno alien guy
Oh, I was gonna suggest Bigfoot.
or Bigfoot.
Well, I think we've all done it. Great. Okay, moving on.
I'm a porno dealing monster. You think I care what you think?
I secretly videotape everybody who comes in here in the hope of blackmailing them later.
How does he know the Pez is stolen? Sorry, I'm jumping back.
It's gonna. Well, he knows after he tastes it.
Yes.
Oh,
If you've,
forbidden
if you've
fruit.
stolen
I
anything
get
and then
ya.
eaten it,
Yeah.
Maybe
Ain't
The
it?
taste
Yeah.
of crime.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's
pretty.
sweeter.
Strawberry.
I like to think that it's Calculon's like personal Pez.
Oh,
Yeah, of course he'd carry his own face. Of course he would.
Yeah, of course.
yeah. And I'll know I've made it in the industry when I have my own Pez.
Oh, for sure. What a great
Oh.
landmark for your
Yeah.
career, right?
Imagine pushing open your head and like candy coming out
Yeah,
Your real head.
your real head.
yeah. I'm looking into it. I'm looking into that body mod.
Yeah, I'm gonna get
like,
like a
snap
little
Just
my
neck,
in
just
our-
neck,
candy.
neck candy.
In our
Yeah.
upcoming Cyberpunk game, someone has to have that mod.
That's right.
It's gonna be me.
Call the character Pez.
Just shoots candy out of various orifices.
No, only their neck.
Yeah. It's a little sneaky plug for our upcoming Cyberpunk.
That's right.
Or 2019,
we should.
guys.
We
2019.
still have to do the impression though.
I did.
Ellen.
Oh, I can't
I know.
remember what he says.
He just does like
Hey
follow
kids,
me.
you want to buy some?
You want to buy some porn?
Want to see some adult movies?
Or like, are you a cop?
Are you a cop?
Are you a cop? Follow me.
Follow me.
Ooh,
Follow. Hey kids, follow me.
it's a bit Italian-y, isn't it?
It is a bit. It's kind of that gross kind of
Guys,
like
what's
American.
that?
Are you saying Italians are gross?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good, done.
Yeah.
Fact.
I'm saying that
everyone
clearly.
then looks at me with my fucking heritage, and
Yeah, that's right. That's why I looked
Tune
straight
in
at you
next
after
week when I
saying.
punch out everyone.
Yeah,
What?
that's right.
No, you get one punch a
Elven,
week.
elven.
What's
heritage.
you's gonna?
You get one
Yous guys, I'm gonna fight yous.
quota of one punch a week, Ellen. Choose
Yeah.
wisely.
All right. Cool. All right. Tune in.
And guys, until the time that Ellen re-ups her punching quota, I have been Sean.
I've been Chris.
I've been Phil.
I've been Ellen.
Hold your wangs close, guys.
Hey, this is the pre-show. Are we recording?
Yeah.
Oh, we're recording.
Are we recording?
We are.
Are we recording?
Everyone
We
do
are.
a C.
See?
One of my friends said she's making a bit of buck on the side selling
Used panties.
underwears. Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy
I told you it's a big
It's a
market.
big
It's a
business.
big
you can make
market.
about $20 a
Was she-
pop.
Yeah.
What's she doing on? I'm asking for a friend.
Just wears them.
Etsy. No.
Someone would buy that on Etsy. though.
Absolutely, they would.
Did anyone see? See fucking Elon Musk?
Yes.
No.
Smoking a giant fucking blunt on Joe Rogan's website.
No, he didn't
What?
even.
Dude, very quickly.
Yeah, this-
are either of
but
you
like-
a boob man?
Yes.